It was the late 90s and I was at a new university. I didn't know a lot of people, and I found myself walking into a marketing classroom with orange carpet and these weird orange office-looking chairs, long tables, and I sit next to a guy that looks familiar. One of his best friends was dating my best friend, who I quickly figured out. But he was chatty and I was chatty, and that nervous energy led to a conversation. And we started to talk about what we were doing and inevitably how we were making money to survive in college. And so at the time I was a host at a steakhouse and he needed a job waiting tables, and I said sure. Turns out we had a lot of classes together, and I said I'll introduce you to my manager, and I got him a job. And if you've ever waited tables, you know that sometimes you get out of work at midnight and all your friends are wherever they're going to be, and so you just end up hanging out with people from the restaurant. And depending on who had a good night when you're waiting tables, sometimes they would offer to pay for food or drinks, or sometimes, if you're lucky, both. And so it was a really cold night, and we ended up at some Bennigan's, which is kind of like an Applebee's, and we started talking about life and what we were going to do. And I said, I don't know, but I'm taking communication classes because I think it's my gift and I want to use that to help people. And I said, what do you want to do with your life? And he was a business major, and he said, I actually really want to write music. I think I was created to help make music that makes people's lives better too, in that way. And I thought, well, that's great. And so one day he played a song for me, and I thought, this is the greatest musician I've ever heard up close, and I was enamored with him. And later he gave me a demo CD of his first songs he's ever written, and he said, one of those songs I'm going to take and see if I couldn't get recorded. And so the summer between our junior and senior year, we'll fast forward a little bit, he ended up trying out on for an MTV contest. And he took that song and he played acoustic guitar and sat on a stool, and Lance Bass and Brian McKnight introduced him, and he wowed not just me, but the judges and really a lot of the MTV world. And he won that contest, and it led to a recording deal that ended up falling through. He came back to school, and we said, you're crazy, because in the music industry, we think you get one shot. If you have an open door, open window, you take it, and he didn't take it. And so he spent the next few years in what we call the grind of playing in clubs and anywhere anyone would let him. With a few guys he'd pulled from high school, they'd formed this band. But when I was finishing graduate school, he also was really starting to find some good connections in the music industry. And one of those was a guy named Timbaland, who was putting together a compilation album. And he said, what if I put your song on my album? It would get you some good exposure. Well, that song, while I was in graduate school, that song called Apologize broke records all over Europe and Australia, and even made top 40 radio in the United States. And I know the word radio dates me just a little bit, but he is all over iTunes, has won multiple Grammys for writing songs for Leona Lewis and Beyonce, the Jonas Brothers, Taylor Swift, Paul McCartney of the Beatles, Lil Nas. You can't even begin to describe all of his accolades, although Rolling Stone magazine has done articles on him. Billboard magazine called him the undercover king of pop. NBC started a show called Songland, where he was one of the primary producers and also one of the judges on the show. My friend Ryan Tedder, who I met in a class that looked similar to this, became really famous, but most importantly got to live what he was created to do. And I too get to do that. So I wanted to tell you that story because sometimes we hesitate to get to know the people in our class, but I want to encourage you to reach out to the people who are trying to get a degree, trying to make their lives better, trying to find what it is they were created to do. Those people might be the same people you tell your kids and friends stories about, to say, you know that guy on TV, or that guy that just accepted that Grammy? I knew he was great. I met him in college, and we waited tables together, and seeing him live his dream reminds me that it's possible.